This fellowship is a religious community grounded in the heritage and principles of Unitarian Universalism. We seek to create loving community, inspire joy and spiritual growth, and support courageous action. All are welcome regardless of religious background, political persuasion, ethnicity, age, ability, sexual orientation, or gender identity or expression. If you have a desire to explore questions of truth and meaning and are respectful of our diversity of people and beliefs, you've found kindred spirits here. If you'd like more information about UUFC or Unitarian Universalism, lost my place. Our welcome table greeters will be in the lobby ready to answer your questions. Please join us in the social room for coffee after the service. You can also find out more about us by visiting our website. There is much going on. Please join us. I have a few announcements before we begin our service. The first is UU&U. Oh, I'm sorry. I need to do our donations to date so far. We have a monthly donation that we rotate among several organizations. The first one is Family Promise, $105. Clemson Child Development Center, $530. Clemson Community Care, $480. Ripple of One, $245. Also for the UUFC, for Ukrainian relief, $1,181. That includes $600 directly from congregants and $581 as a result of our, which is 10% from our spring auction. So our total donations to date are just over $2,500. Yes, if you want to clap, go right ahead. And I have a few other announcements. There's going to be a UU&U workshop on August 14th at 2:30 in the Founders House. It's going to be an opportunity to learn more about our faith, our fellowship, and membership at UUFC, and that will be with the membership team. There's a link in the weekly connection if you're interested in registering. There's also going to be an estate planning lunch and learn seminar on August 21st at noon in the UUFC Fellowship Hall. Learn the differences between wills and trusts, other financial tools for estate planning, and healthcare directives. And if you're interested, please RSVP to Kathy Crane by August 14th. There's also going to be a Bands Off Our Bodies peaceful protest about the overturning of Roe v. Wade, August 10th at 3:30 at Seneca City Hall. If you wish to go, you can carpool and meet here at UUFC. Also, for many, many years, UUFC has provided a monthly meal for persons experiencing homelessness at a shelter in Seneca. Several UUFC members and friends help with this project. If you're available to assist with the August 17th meal, which is a Wednesday, please see Janie Shipley. And if Janie would just raise her hand so people know who she is, thank you, that would be great. Lastly, August 28th will be our in-gathering and water ceremony and potluck. So that's in 3 weeks from today. And if you haven't already gotten a container or you need another one, they're available at the welcome table to pick up and just collect water from wherever is meaningful for you from this past summer. So that is all of our announcements. So please stand and greet each other. Then stand for the hymn after, which is 118, Little Light of Mine. Awaken to This Gift by Reverend Gretchen Haley. Open the door of your hesitant heart. Let the light shine on all the sleeping shadows. Awaken to this day that offers itself to you and to all with a great extravagance. Awaken to this gift, this beauty, this chance, that we might begin again and anew, that we might be changed by the in and out of breath, that we might still burst forth like the crocuses, that we might still surprise this earth with a new song, sung together, calling us all in, and then sending us back out, and knowing it all as a blessing. Come, let us worship together.
Thank you, Leslie, for the warm welcome and the opening words. It is so good to be with you this morning. My name is Reverend Christina Branum-Martin, and I'm the interim minister here at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clemson. I see faces smiling back that I have seen in the last year and new faces to meet, and I look forward to getting to know you more. I'm going to light the chalice now, something that all of us do as Unitarian Universalists as we gather together in community. Sometimes it's before a meeting, just to ground us and find ourselves centered. Sometimes it's in worship, so that we feel a part of something bigger than ourselves. So I light this now, knowing that we are a part of something grander. We light this chalice on the brink of a new academic year, which here in Clemson is a big deal. I even heard the grumbling already that the students are back, the traffic is back, and it's harder to go to the grocery store. Because I understand everybody's got to fill their freezers full of frozen dinners, right? So on the brink of this new academic year, we are letting go of what has been, and we are open and hopeful for what is to come. And as we move from summer into this new year, we come restored, renewed, and ready, hopefully renewed, so that we may live fully anew, and may we move forward with intention. Every week we read our words of affirmation that are printed in your order of service. Would you join me? We gather together in the spirit of love, with justice as our guide. This is our chosen covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth with freedom, and to care for one another. So the formal time for all ages today, which we don't have any young ages in the room.
They're all on vacation.
But they're all on vacation. But school starts this week for many students,
Yeah, it
right?
already started in Pickens County.
So
And
Pickens
Oconee
County has
and
started.
Anderson started next week.
And Anderson and Pickens or Oconee start next week?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we have today is an opportunity not only to bless their backpacks when they come, they'll get a tag to put on their backpack.
This year's model.
This year's model. We also are going to bless your briefcases, your backpacks that you take to work, your bags you take to swim meets when your students would go swimming during the school year. I don't know about you, but I'm going to bless my phone, my computer in my pocket. It's hard to attach one of those to it, but I'm going to do it virtually, right? So I'm going to ask you, how many of you have a bag that you can attach a tag to? Raise your hand. Oh, great. Well, I am going to offer these words of blessing for them. That these things that we keep in our bags, these are just tools. And this computer in my pocket is just a tool. It's something that I can do without, but I don't function that well without it. So we hope for our children and for all of us that we put tools in our bags. And these are some of the things that we can't do without. Things like respect for other people, kindness and compassion, understanding and acceptance and encouragement. How about curiosity and a passion for learning, listening to other people, working for justice, and the feeling of being connected to everything around me. I want all of that in our bags. And guess what those are? Those are the principles of Unitarian Universalism. Those are our principles in action in our daily life. So we can't put those in the backpacks, but we can carry them in our hearts and in our intention and in the way we live our lives. So a blessing based on the dictionary is something, among other things, that helps you bring you back to your center and to bring you happiness. So these are the blessings of Unitarian Universalism to put in your bag. What else do you want to put in your bag? Let's call out a blessing for everybody's stuff, and including the kids. I want fun. You said hope? Hope. I want fun. Peace of mind. Appreciation. Courage and patience. Did I hear that? Respect. Not losing it. Recalculating, right? So all of these things from this community, we have blessed these tags with these words. And we will pass them out now. Maybe you can give me a handful and I'll pass them. Thank you. While these are being passed out, please know that if you're at home and you need one, contact Carol when you come back to the building the next time, or send us an email and we'll mail it to you, because not everyone else is feeling comfortable to come into the building right now, still with COVID or with other issues in your life, and we want to share that with you. And thank you, Karen, for all the work of making those tags for us. I need one. I'll take purple. Thank you. Trade colors? Yeah. Great. Anybody need to trade colors? Dave's over here making a transaction. All right. I am so glad we got to do this. It feels good for me and for all of us to bless each other with our presence and with our intention. This is the time in which the ushers will pass the wooden bowls in a minute about taking up an offering for this community. I was so touched to hear the annual total so far of what has been given to our community partners. And our offering is certainly one that supports our community here and this fellowship, but it also supports the way we interact with the community at large. It's a very important part of who we are. This morning's offering will now be gratefully received.
Receive this with gratitude and with love and care. Now is the time that we share the joys and concerns of our community. I did not see any green cards in the basket, but I do have one from Mel. And I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. I have two things I want to share then. The first is that there will be a writing group on Monday, to letter writing happy hour on Monday, and it is going to be in support of the reproductive rights agenda and trying to change things in South Carolina, and that was left out of the announcement, so I wanted to make sure that that could. our joy that Demetra is moving around so well and is doing great with a smile on her face. And this stone is for you, Demetra. Thank you, Elaine. This last stone is for all the things that are still held within us. Those things that we feel in our hearts sometimes need to just stay there and ruminate and be a part of who we are. And please know that this community is here to support you whenever you need to let that out. I forgot one. Janine Varenhorst. I'm going to take her flowers today. We talked on the phone. She unfortunately had to have a small surgery and lost a toe. And hopefully not anymore. So, yeah. So I just wanted you to know that she is such a trooper. And I said, I'm going to bring you flowers. She goes, I don't need flowers. I said, if you're losing a toe, you get something out of it. So these flowers will be taken to her. Thank you.
We've come to the time in which we gather for prayer and meditation, and so I invite you to find yourself a comfortable spot in your chair and to take a deep breath. Today's meditation is written by Amy Lloyd, and it's one of my favorites. Today, I want to greet joy without a trace of suspicion. I want to open my eyes to the light without a blink of dread. I want to look at my past without a whisper of shame. I want to look at my future without a hint of fear. And today I want to dance without pausing to think. I want to belly laugh without worrying who hears. I want to open my arms and twirl in the sun until I fall breathless, free to be myself, free to be full of joy that I am allowing, completely letting go, without even a smudge of suspicion or a wink of hesitation. For this is my intention. It's all I want. May that be so for each and every one of us.
Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing to the power of the hope within. Now let us sing to the power of the hope within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the hope within. Sing to the power of the love within. Sing to the power of the love within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the love within. Sing to the power of the joy within. Sing to the power of the joy within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the joy within.
When I was a student in seminary, I took the long road through seminary, going part-time for 5 years. Because who can afford seminary these days? Studying for a master's degree that's 4 years long is expensive. So I was a student minister at that congregation where that group was singing. And that was Bay Area, just south of Houston, near NASA. And I moved to Atlanta from Houston. And I tell you, being a student minister with a group of engineers and scientists filling the room made me a little nervous. But I'm all the better for it. Today, I want to share with you some reflections from Peter Dietrich's about Forest Church's book called Love and Death. It begins with an excerpt from a chapter called Want What You Have. Forest Church writes, "It is tempting to seek something, to seek meaning, not in what we have, but in what we desire. When we do this, we practice wishful thinking, one of the enemies that frustrates our search for meaning. This is perhaps the most traitorous. It places fulfillment forever beyond our reach, in what we do not have, in what we cannot do, and in who we shall never be. Meaning doesn't emerge for longing what we lack, things we have lost or will likely never find. We should wish to think instead for those things that are closer at hand, like the sun's kiss, good morning, when it breaks through the blinds to inaugurate another miracle, another day. This is joy." Martha, can you hear?
I forgot my hearing aids.
Do you want to use ours? Our hearing aids that we have that fit into our microphones? Give it a, Joseph will get you one. Let's give it a try and you let me know afterwards how it works.
What am I supposed to do?
Go get it from, Joseph will get one for you. Part of the reason why I asked Martha if she could hear is I wanted to make sure that we in the room can hear. I'm in a particular place where everything goes outward and I can't hear very well, but can you hear me? Yeah. Good, okay. And hopefully soon Martha can hear me too. I might have promised something that wasn't charged up and ready. I'm going to go ahead and move on, and I'm going to cross my fingers that those gadgets work. I want to tell you about Forest Church. For nearly 30 years, Forest Church served as the minister and spiritual leader of All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church in New York City. And during his ministry, his church became a haven for spiritual seekers and a beacon for social outreach in the community. He helped to found a shelter for homeless women in Harlem, a scouting program for boys and girls at the Welfare Hotel, and a soup kitchen adjacent to the church. And during his lifetime, Church authored and co-authored nearly 20 books. 20 books on topics ranging from American history to liberal religion and spirituality. He was frequently interviewed as the voice of liberal religion on NPR and local television broadcast. And when he was called to be the minister at All Souls, attendance was about 100 people. When his ministry ended, it was over 1,000. No pressure. By all measures, Church's ministry was public, prolific, and powerful. But as is all all of us, we are frail and fallible human beings. Forrest fought his demons too. In the year 2000, he acknowledged his alcoholism, joined AA, and remained sober for the remaining years of his life. He faced other struggles as well, and perhaps what made him a popular preacher and pastor is that he faced these struggles head on, and he used them to inform his ministry of compassion and hope. In February 2008, he informed his congregation that he had been diagnosed with esophageal cancer and that the doctors expected him only to live a few more months. With this death sentence in hand, as he put it, Forrest did what he did best. He picked up a pencil and paper and he began to write. He wrote his books on yellow pads of paper first. That book resulted in the efforts that was called Love and Death, My Journey Through the Valley of the Shadow. And he expected this to be his final work. But as a result of experimental treatment for his cancer, he managed to pen one final work called The Cathedral of the World, a Universalist theology. And that work was published by Beacon Press just after his death in 2009. In an interview conducted shortly before he died, Forrest Church described the importance of writing Love and Death. He said, "It allowed me to write a coda to my pastoral theology, to my lifelong belief that love and death are interwoven and are the heartstrings of religion." He goes on to say, "I have a mantra that I've come to live by over the past few years, and it has served me well. It is, want what you have, do what you can, and be who you are." And today, in the summary of this philosophy, we will talk about that first one, to want what you have. And later in the year, I'll go over the other two. Well, want what you have sounds like a strange thing coming from someone who has a terminal disease at a relatively young age. No one wants to have cancer at any age. And to understand Forrest Church's perspective, we need to put it in a larger context. And it's a context that lies elsewhere in his other books. He has a book called The Freedom from Fear. In this theological reflection, Church asks us to imagine our lives made up of large windows, kind of like this sanctuary. And those large windows have many panes. If you like, use the image of stained glass. And each pane is some aspect of our life. Our job, our hobbies, our health, our relationships with our partners, our children. And at any given time of our lives, he tells us that some of these panes are going to be clear and bright, and some will be clouded over, even shadowed or opaque. While we may be enjoying a particularly productive time in our lives, things at home may be strained with our relationships, while work is going well, or vice versa. Or perhaps we're deliriously in love with a new mate, but strains relationships with our friends because we forget to leave time for our friends. You get the idea. So some of our windows are rosy and allow the light to stream in, while others are a bit foggy and are even maybe boarded up. Forrest states that as human beings, we have an inclination to focus on the ones, or even obsess about the ones that are cloudy, that we can't see through. And this tendency to press our nose up against the glass is desperately trying to see through it. And when we do this, we lose all sense of proportion, and our world gets cloudy and sometimes even dark. And the response to this darkened window pane, this pressing up against it with our nose, is we lose sight of the things in our life that are good. This unreasonableness of some of the areas of our work end up getting carried into the other parts of our life. For example, a boss is bothering us at work, and we end up taking it home and not treating our family nicely that evening because we're grumpy. Or perhaps a betrayal of a friend makes us doubt all of our friendships and makes them suspect. Or when our health is compromised, all we can see ahead is a life of disability and pain. So when one of our pains gets cloudy, we literally lose sight of all the other things in our life that are life-affirming and life-giving. So this aspect of church's mantra, to want what you have, he wrote before he was diagnosed with cancer. And in his book, he warns against engaging in wishful thinking and urges us to practice what he calls thoughtful wishing. This premise is that wishful thinking leads to certain disappointment, or that disappointment can easily blossom into paralyzing fear until we learn to do it right, he writes. What we wish for will only come true by accident, and what's worse is if we wish for the wrong things, or the fear of disappointment will dog us. What's this quote? This is odd. The fear of disappointment will dog us from one broken dream to the next. There. He goes on to tell us, happiness doesn't follow when we long for what we lack. We instead are looking for something that we find. Wishful thinking is both sloppy and sentimental. So what is thoughtful wishing instead then? Wishing, he says, for what is ours, for what is here and what is now, to have, to be, and to do. This, in a sense, is like a prayer. Like the prayer we did earlier, hoping to live with intention. The prayer for the right things will be answered by our thoughtful wishes. Our prayers will be answered by living with intention and finding joy in our life. Prayer is a tricky word in a room full of many humanists like myself. But religious language, the religious language of prayer, is to live each moment with intention. And in that case, even a humanist can claim that word for myself. So this thoughtful wishing that Forest Church is asking of us, he's asking us to want what we have. Wanting what we have encourages us to wish for the things and to pray for those things and to work for those things in our life. And it urges us to step back from those cloudy windows, those ones that we are so hyper-focused on. Instead, he invites us to live in the moment, to live with all the gifts in our lives and the acceptance of those that perhaps we have forgotten to see. It's important, though, to wish for what you want, and to want what you have does not mean that you have to accept what you've got without fighting for something else. It doesn't mean to stay in an abusive relationship or to stay in a job that doesn't bring you joy or even pay you fairly. It certainly is about trying to find our way through something. To want what you have is not to relinquish our responsibility and our care for ourselves and for others. Forrest Church treated his aggressive form of cancer aggressively, knowing that he didn't want to just sit back and take it. So his want what you have is also an imperative to seek what you need. Wanting what you have, similarly, is not about letting go of the natural yearnings we have as human beings. We will, we believe, always desire more of the good things in our lives. More love, deeper connection, greater meaning and purpose. To want what we have does not call us to rest contentedly. Like Marianne Williamson, who wrote famously that we are powerful beyond measure and that we are brilliant and gorgeous and talented and fabulous. Wanting what we have is not living small, she says. Rather, it means tending to all the colorful panes in our windows to allow as much light in as possible so that we can then turn and shine that light back out to the world. And finally, wanting what we have does not require of us to become boring and dull or to forego imagination and creativity. Thoughtful wishing probably tells us we shouldn't waste our time praying for things we can't have, like a cool evening in August. And we probably shouldn't play the lottery. Isn't the lottery, somebody said the lottery is for somebody who doesn't understand math and statistics. But Tom was saying we want our kids to have hope in our bags. And so maybe the lottery every once in a while when the pot gets really, really, really big, right? Because there's no harm in daydreaming, right? We must remain Imagineers and co-creators of our own lives and caretakers of wonder and joy. We can't always live for the what ifs or the whatevers, but we can live. We can live for the ways in which we can dance with joy. I want to go back to that reading that we said earlier. Let me find it. Somewhere. Where'd it go? Here it is. To want what we have is to live in joy and to live with intention of the moment. So I'm going to close again with the prayer and meditation we shared earlier. Today, I want to greet joy without a trace of suspicion. I want to open my eyes to the light without the blink of dread. I want to look at my past without a whisper of shame, and I want to look at my future without a hint of fear. Today, I want to dance without pausing to think of who's watching me. I want to belly laugh, not worrying about who hears, and I want to open my arms and twirl in the sun until I fall breathless, free to be myself, full of joy, that I open, allow, completely let go without even a smudge of suspicion or wink of hesitation. That's my intention. It's what I want. I want to want what I have, and what I want for myself and for all of you is to live in joy. Let us sing together now. One more step, number 168. Would you stand with me if you're able to? Put out this chalice. We know that we've come to the end of our service today, and we arrive at the beginning of the ministry of our week. We hope that this morning has been meaningful for you and that you leave here with a sense of connection to this community, to each other, and to your life. And may you move forward with possibility, with intention, and with, what's the word of the day? Joy.